Live, and my friend Yaël Ossowski rejoins the Hot Talk Morning Show from the Consumer Choice Center, the Deputy Director of the Global Grassroots Movement for Consumer Choice. Mr. Ossowski, how it goes it this morning?
You know, it's going great, Joe. You know that I love consumer innovations, and the latest one I'm guzzling is one of these protein sodas. You can get 20 grams just by drinking a soda.
Bam.
I love the open and free market. It's wonderful.
You love the open and free market, but for some industries, they may be put into question in the near future as a result of the federal government reopening. Let me explain. So, federal spending bill that reopened the government after its longest shutdown in history could very well shut down the thriving and growing hemp industry. And yes, here in South Carolina, is included. In fact, Senator Lindsey Graham actually met this week with families and hemp farmers to discuss how these new regulations would affect their lives and their businesses. So break it down for me, Yaël. Obviously, the devil is in the details, as they say. So we get the government reopened, but what does the hemp industry have to do with getting the core functions of government back open after the shutdown?
Yeah, tell me about it. So part of the bill, the bill to open up the government, which, you had a few Democratic senators who finally signed up and we ended the shutdown. Part of it was to unwind part of the 2018 Farm Bill that provides most of the funding for a lot of agricultural subsidies and the like. So Trump signed that in 2018, and that opened up the hemp market. And that's a lot of the CBD products. It's also the actual physical things made with hemp, whether it be rope or shirts or all types of industrial products. And essentially, you've had this market come up of a very low THC CBD products that people have seen probably at gas stations, people have seen at various shops. So what was slipped into the shutdown bill was a kind of rejiggering of the number, looking at the actual legal limit. And it lowers it to such an extent that many of these hemp products that you can buy on the shelves, you basically can't buy them anymore. It'll be illegal to sell them, buy them, procure them, grow them, do everything else. And this is going to be really hard for a lot of hemp farmers, particularly in Kentucky and South Carolina, across the Carolinas, Virginia. It's a big deal. It was not part of the shutdown plan, but Senator Mitch McConnell, apparently as a favor to a particular industry, slipped this into the shutdown bill, and within a year, we could see all of these products off the shelf if nothing changes.
Now, I know there's some concerns, within our state in particular, that there are no sort of age limits when it comes to, who can buy, these THC laced seltzers and drinks that are out there on the market. Is that different than what we're talking about here? Two different sort of conversations under the same topic?
I mean, it's somewhat similar. So, it is true that many of the circumstances you do not have age gating, where you would normally say 21 and above, 18 or above. But the thing is these are not intoxicating products. This is not the thing that you go when you go out to the state of Colorado or California and people buy legal cannabis to smoke or do whatever. This is mostly stuff that people are taking for pain relief and just anxiety. It's the normal CBD products. You have had some entrepreneurs who've figured out how to essentially make sure that the dose is a bit better and actually alleviates a lot of that pain much easier, but still staying within the legal limit. Again, it's a very, very small limit. It's like 0.4 milligrams per container where you're allowed to have a little bit of tiny THC, which is natural to any cannabis plant. Doesn't matter if it's, the most potent or not. So I think that is, yes, it's somewhat of a different conversation, but you can have age limits, age restrictions at the state level. I know this has been discussed in many states. It is a bit different, but that's the whole thing. You need to have regulations, put this stuff in place, and that creates the markets and ensures that kids are safe too.
You talk about the economic impact, right, of the hemp industry. You'd be surprised to know that the hemp industry here in the United States alone has a total economic impact that exceeds $80 billion and supports some 328,000 jobs across our country in the states that Yaël just mentioned. So this industry could be ravaged, right, within the next 12 months if this all goes into effect as voted on just last week.
Yeah, basically. Essentially, the ban goes into place in about a year. So there's already a couple of movements, even from South Carolina's own Nancy Mace, to kind of overturn this. So there are a couple of bills where they're talking about it. And the state of South Carolina does regulate the hemp market, particularly for growing. You know, they do have these like permits that are required by the Department of Agriculture. You've got all types of different areas where this stuff is being grown. And look, farmers are farmers. And I think that's a big impact that you have to think about as well is, you know, farmers are just growing any kind of crop they can to make sure they can, you know, feed their families. And hemp has been a great product for that, again, because it has so many industrial uses, different uses, consumer ends and the like. So, yeah, unless we get some kind of bill to overturn this, in about a year, this market will basically go away. And that's going to impact a lot of farmers and definitely a lot of consumers, particularly older people, who come to rely on some of this stuff.
Just amazing. We had a conversation last hour about, getting the federal government out of the way. Let some of these states decide what's best for their states, whether it be on the economic side pertaining to hemp, or you're talking about the fisheries just a moment ago, and the fact that there's just so much unreliable data that comes from Cubicle 357 in the Department of Agriculture or elsewhere from some bureaucrat that sets these standards and rules, and then in some cases obviously gets passed and moved forward through Congress in this case, as you mentioned. It was great to talk with Senator Goldfinch about some of those things. Talking with Yaël Ossowski at the Consumer Choice Center. Obviously, a lot of talk here towards the end of the year and the shutdown, Yaël, pertaining to health care in our country with the Obama-era subsidies set to expire at the end of the year. Means premiums will be going up for millions of Americans if they don't extend these quote-unquote tax credits for the foreseeable future. Now, on the flip side, Republicans have had 15 years to come up with some sort of, overarching health care, health insurance sort of plan. They don't have a plan outside of a couple of bold letters and words through Trump's social media account saying that he wants to send health care money directly to Americans. What does that even mean?
Yeah, I think Trump has the right instincts, as he does for many things. And essentially his idea is, trust the consumer, trust the patient, let them get as much of their money back as possible, and they can make their own healthcare decisions. I like that in principle. Realistically, I'd much prefer they just lower my taxes, and then I wouldn't have to send that money to the government anyway, but that's a whole other consideration. But, yeah, there really is no Republican plan, and I actually would argue you don't really need one, because all you need is a good functioning market again. The problem with the Affordable Care Act is it outlawed so many different plans that many people actually need, like a good catastrophic health insurance plan that you need if you get into an accident or you need surgery, get cancer. And those are the things that Obamacare actually made illegal for basically 99% of Americans. And we don't really have the free functioning market that people pretend, because so many people are on their employer plans, many people are on government plans, whether it be the VA or through the various states or through the federal government, retirement, Medicare, Medicaid. So much of it is just caught up in bureaucracy. Joe, we've talked a lot about, health savings accounts. We've talked about direct primary care, concierge medicine. The best thing you can do for the healthcare system is get as much bureaucracy out of the system and be sure that we get direct payments, because that's really what is going to make a difference, is removing all of the bureaucracy, the layers. I don't know if the Trump plan, which again is not a bill, nothing serious that we can see now, it's not coming to fruition just yet. There are a lot of great people doing policy work on this stuff. I'm trying to follow it, trying to contribute where possible. But the more that we can give money back to patients, the more that people can make their own decisions and create their own healthcare products that work for them, that'd be good, because otherwise we're only talking about insurance and we're not actually talking about health care.
And we've talked a lot over the years, right, surrounding concierge-style membership services that have grown leaps and bounds in the last decade or so. Direct pay physician services, that market continues to grow. It's about a $15 to $20 billion sector right now. And why is that? Well, because fewer than 10% of families ever meet their high deductible plan, and a majority of the country has a high deductible plan. I mean, the average family premium is now $25,000 to $26,000 a year before they can even use their insurance. So essentially people are already paying cash. They're just paying more for it through insurers. And I don't know if there's any other industry that operates like this, right? When we talk about a high deductible plan, effectively it's a catastrophic plan, right? Which means zero justification for the pricing. This is equivalent, if you want to do a compare and contrast, Yael, and let me know if I'm going down the wrong path here. Homeowners insurance, right? If you had $1 million home, the way it works through health insurance, your homeowners insurance would be around $30,000 annually as a result of the process and the system as it is with health care. We don't operate that way when it comes to our homeowners insurance, our car insurance, or any other insurance that we're covered under. Why is it that this is the way when it comes to health care?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I think the bigger problem is we have something called the middleman health economy. Nobody pays for their own health bills. It's usually either the insurance company or it's a government or it's some kind of discount that's somehow arranged with a pharmacy benefit manager. You just don't have solid cash prices. Again, unless you go to a direct primary care doctor who doesn't take insurance and you pay cash, you just never know. And that means that every provider has an incentive to push up prices because they know that the insurance company is going to get it, or Medicare is going to cover it, or Medicaid is going to cover it. And that's why you do have so much fraud in Medicare and Medicaid, hundreds of billions of dollars a year. And that's the whole problem is you don't have real prices. Another one is car insurance, right? We have car insurance if we get in major accidents. We don't use our car insurance when we want to change our tires or change our windshield wipers or anything else. It's only for those catastrophic things. Insurance is supposed to save you from financial ruin. But unfortunately, we kind of use it as a piggy bank for everything. And then you get all these middlemen that get involved that pay one piece of it. Someone else pays another piece of it. And it'd be just so much better if we could just simplify it, let health providers offer their products, let us pay for them. It'd be a lot better, and we could create a lot of things. But it's going to take some reforms in D.C., but, in the meantime, consumers can be empowered. Patients can use, as you mentioned, the direct primary care clinics. You also have health sharing ministries, which are very big in the South and with the Dave Ramsey crowd. So there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do, at least.
All right, to wrap it up with the Deputy Director of the Consumer Choice Center, Yaël Ossowski at consumerchoicecenter.org. You have an op-ed that was posted at thecentersquare.com today surrounding 401k retirement and whether or not we actually control the dollars that we save and then allocate to our retirement plans. What made you explore this specific topic?
Yeah, look, 401ks are, something like 60% of Americans have some kind of employer 401k. It's a great tax benefit because you get to write that off at the end of the year. You lower your taxable income. It's wonderful, but oftentimes people have very legacy banks that organize this stuff or control it. There's only certain things you can invest in. And we see in many states, they're pushing back against better options, FinTech options where you can log in or you can allow some kind of, retirement advisor or financial advisor to help you out. And these restrictions are pretty harmful because, that is your money that you're investing, that you're working for, and you can't even control it. And we've seen from the Trump administration and the SEC, they're working on opening up 401ks so we can invest in more things. We can actually save. We can put that money away because who knows if Social Security will be there. So basically the whole point of the article is asking the question, do we really own our 401ks? Is that really our money? There's far too many restrictions right now that really keep us from having that innovation where people are saving money. They're finding better investment options. I'd love to be able to do this a lot more. There's a lot of things standing in the way. So, yeah, it's over there on the Center Square. It's not just 401ks. Anyone who has any kind of retirement investment account, these restrictions apply. So I hope we can change that in the near future.
Hey, give them a read at thecentersquare.com or consumerchoicecenter.org as well. Yael, always very in tune with some of the hot topics of the day, and you're able to simplify a lot of those things to make even a guy like Joe Katz understand where you're coming from and how it impacts my life, my family's life on a day-to-day basis, along with our listeners as well. Appreciate the time, my friend. Hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully the COVID police don't come around like they did 3-4 years ago when you're just trying to smoke a turkey in the middle of your apartment complex in Vienna. Hopefully you're beyond those days of breaking the law out there in Austria.
No longer criminal, but I will enjoy Thanksgiving. Thanks, Joe.
You smoke up a bird and enjoy it, my friend, with you and your beautiful family. We'll catch up again soon, all right?
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
All right, that's Yaël Ossowski at consumerchoicecenter.org.